you guys ready? And I want to preface all of this with, I am not necessarily part of an endgame house.
What the fuck is this, bro?
This is literally me possibly giving some tips to any small houses that want to grow and try to be successful, just to try to make the game a little more healthy.
Is there any gacha in this?
I don't think so.
Madam, we need more toxicity from you, please.
Yes.
I hope in the future you won't continue this pattern of misbehavior.
I'll try to be very naughty next season. How about that?
Now I'm just excited.
Ooh, thank you. Okay, let's get started, shall we? Yeah, pretty much made a quick guide just to give some basic tips and tricks to any small houses that are looking to become an established house, and what are some of the things that they could do to eventually get there. What exactly would make a house established? Knowing what they want as a collective. So if you have a goal set and you want to strive for that, and everyone in your house is for it, you're gonna have a great time because you're gonna have so much support and pushing to whatever the heck you want.
This is gay.
Yeah, it is pretty gay, not gonna lie.
Did someone ask you to do this?
No, I'm literally doing it to help out any houses that want to push for stuff. And
Do
yeah,
the Diplo thing.
He wants a good fight.
yes, I don't want to club steals. I want to
Play Freebird.
have something a little more exciting.
Well, they have to listen
I get
first.
that.
That's the
True.
biggest issue with small houses, is that they have lieges with like dicks in both of their ears. Sorry, go ahead.
Isn't that like a feature though? If anyone's confused by the purpose of the house, then it could send the house in a different direction than intended, especially if leadership and officers are wanting different things, such as like an end game, or such as land, growth, all that random ass shit. Common house goals, community growth. This can be excluding Conqueror's Blade. It can literally be, I want, I'm going to use a random house name, Stormbirds, to enter Conqueror's Blade, you know, get some more members for not just Conqueror's Blade, but for our CSGO clan or whatever the hell they're doing. Who knows? Another more in-game centric goal is for the land, or to go for a capital, seeing the map green for farming purposes, being able to build more arty, and just silver payouts in general, as well as the bonus honor from Thief quests and unit kits from that as well. Or this is a big one, having an amazing stack, having like a solid 30 guys that have so much fun when it comes to territory war and can do whatever they really want, as long as leadership guides them in the direction that benefits the house. What are the pros and cons of each of these? Well, for communities, you know, some of the pros are members are more likely to stay for the people and not the game. So if you were to move over to any other game, such as Myth of Empire, Clash of Clans, or something along those lines, you already have a pool of people that you might be able to reach out to join in on your guild in this new game. And if you're just based on community, usually your main focus wouldn't be territory war for land and capitals and, you know, acclaim. So with that said, it'd be very minimal upkeep needed for territory war preparations if you do want to go that way. Some of the cons though is that it's really hard to get veteran players into your house if you're literally a level 50 guy with the house Stormbirds, I'll say again, that has a little connection in all these other games. No one really cares about that as far as veteran players. They would rather be in a house that will lead to success. So that's kind of the one downside there. Another thing is it's going to be very hard to have any sort of mergers, especially if you want to keep your community name, your house name, because let's say Essence and Gaia wanted to merge, and Gaia was unwilling to change their name, then, you know, it's something that could lead to the merge never happening. And you know, it's whatever. Also, another con is members usually have to be trained from being completely brand new in the game. So you're gonna have to be recruiting like level 10s and then train them at the start, hope that they become a part of your community, and, you know, teach them literally every single bit of the game. It sucks. All the homies hate Stormbird, dude. I know, Asma. Another, you know, pros and cons situation for landing capitals is, if you are going for that, sometimes it is easier to get those veteran players because A, they see that you're going for something that aligns with their goal, let it be them attaining more silver, more farming, more building of Vardy, whatever. And yeah, finances is just amazing when it comes to that, especially if you go to an area where you're fighting people that are more focused on their community compared to land and goals, where generally speaking it's going to be a lot more recruit based players compared to veteran based. Also, when you are a house that's made for land and capital goals, if you are willing to change your name, mergers are so much easier for that quick instant growth. Let it be growth in leadership, regular members, literally any sort of avenue. The issues with it, though, is there is definitely a lot more work to upkeep with every war. Let it be gathering attendance, figuring out targets, doing diplomacy, doing all these sorts of things. Now, you don't necessarily need to do diplomacy if you have enough veteran players, but that's not always the case. Sometimes, you know, you can't just kill every target you see. You might piss off someone that's such a higher tier than you and get absolutely crushed. Another con is members are joining for the goal and not the community. What that means is, like, these guys are literally here just to fight for, let's say, Algolia or whatever capital or whatever chunk of land. And if you start losing said capital or said land, you might lose the people. So it can be rough. If you built your house around getting an amazing stack, the amount of bonding that these players will do is actually amazing. It's astronomical. The connection that these guys will make through success of wars all the time and all that stuff is pretty wicked. And you know, generally speaking, if you are focused on building that amazing stack with putting all of your resources into this, then these guys can really choose a target on the map and do whatever they can to take out that target. Usually, once again, if they truly want to be able to go for that target, they're going to put in every bit of effort. Let it be buying already, let it be leveling up units to max, you know, all that stuff, which you should have max units for territory war if you are going to go for land capitals or try to push for an amazing stack. With the amazing stack, it is a lot easier to get veteran players because, once again, same mindset. These guys are here for this purpose. It's just for the content and for the fun. The cons is you can have trouble controlling the stack if they do wish to do something different than leadership decides. These guys can literally choose at any time to say, fuck you, this is what I'm doing, and they could do it because they're a great stack. It is what it is. If an issue does arise within the stack, you can have the issue of your whole house being torn apart by these little factions almost, or like these subgroups within the stack, where if Joe leaves, then that's going to cause Billy, Bob, John, all those guys to leave too, and it can be really hard to recover from something along those lines. So you have to be really careful as far as the HR department goes with these interpersonal connections. And yeah, another con, once again, members are joining for the goal, not the community. These guys can go to whatever house they want whenever they want if their stack is underperforming, because, you know, their whole purpose is to be in, let's say, like that raiding party stack and kick some ass. And once again, a lot of work goes into upkeeping these wars. Literally, you're talking now looking at barracks, assigning people specific units to do specific roles in specific strategies for these different fiefs, on top of everything else for the lands and capitals. So let's say you know what your goal is. How do you succeed at it? Well, there's tons of different things, but at the end of the day, it comes down to leadership. And what you do makes a difference. You have to decide what kind of difference you want to make. It's a good quote by Jane Goodall towards growth, leadership, and everything like that. So you are going to have to put in so much effort. At the end of the day, if you are a liege of whatever or wanting to operate this house, you are the whole backbone of it. I say that with the fact that if anything goes wrong, you are the one that has to handle it, and it can provide a lot of stress. But generally speaking, what are the duties of leadership? Recruitment. These are the people that are, posting world chat. Hey, such and such house is recruiting so and so players for X purpose. And then on top of that, is that all that the people do in recruitment? No, these people can sometimes go a little step further, interview them, see exactly what their schedule is like. Can they make territory wars? Are they there to play casually? Which, once again, it'll just depend on the goal that your house has set on what you'll actually accept. But at the end of the day, recruitment is a pretty big goal of leadership, or a pretty big duty of leadership. Another one is training. So now you have that level 100 character or level 50 character or something along those lines that can make territory wars. What are you doing to teach these people the specific death ball mechanics, or how to use cav, what units to level, everything along those lines? Like, having stuff on guides is great and all, but actually being able to walk through with a person is that extra step. So it's really nice. Human resources, this goes to those interpersonal connections. What are you going to do when so-and-so has an issue with so-and-so and one of them are guaranteed to leave the house? How do you handle that situation? Obviously, the best case scenario would be neither leaves the house, but you have to make that judgment based on what happens during that time. So it's a pretty big role, once again. Diplomacy. This is where you get more into just bonding with other houses. So this is, instead of interpersonal connections within your house, this is inter-house connections, I guess is the terminology I'll use there. So you have a neighboring house right beside you and you want to take that fief. How are you going to handle that? Are you just going to take it? What's the blowback that you're going to get once you do take it? Having a conversation with a representative of their house that is in diplomacy can definitely help work that out to where both parties are happy at the end of the day. War planning. This is a big one. This is where you have VOD reviews. You're actually doing rosters with proper units. You're doing all these fun sorts of things, and it goes a step further once you're in an alliance, because now you have to figure out, what does the whole alliance want to do? What are they going to target? What are you going to target? Is you targeting such and such house going to cause you to lose all your land or something along those lines? There's quite a few things that do go into the planning of battles that we'll dive a little bit deeper into in a moment here. And then shot calling, the final thing. This is where you have a guy, generally essential and up, I believe, that once they declare on a fief, this guy will generally be in overview the whole time, not be one of the 15 members that are in there, and make calls. This is the guy that handles the macro, while the 15 guys in there handle the micro. So this guy looks at the grand scheme, sees, okay, this side has not too many people, I need people to rotate there and handle this situation. And generally speaking, I believe these are practically all the duties of leadership, but every house has a little bit extra, a little bit less. You know how it is. Thank you for the follow. What can you do to help you with those areas? Well, in reality, there's only a few ways to handle all those different responsibilities. You can do it all yourself as a liege, which can be done easily if it's a small house of like 5 or less people. But the pros and cons of each of these is going to be that if you do it yourself, you'll make sure that everything gets done to the degree that you exactly want. There's no confusion between you talking to another person, middlemaning, or anything along those lines. And once again, with a smaller house, it's a lot more manageable than a bigger house. Trust me. Once you get like 60 guys that you have to handle on the daily, it's definitely something you'll never want to do. It's like a full-time job. The burnout will come super quickly, like absurdly quick, if you were to handle it all by yourself. The amount of hours that you have put in each week to handle like war planning, VOD reviews, shot calling, recruitment, diplomacy, and everything like that, you can easily go up to 40 hours a week depending on the size of your house. So that in itself is terrifying, and that's where we would definitely, or I would definitely recommend getting an officer corps of some kind, because at the end of the day, with you being the only one in leadership, you're expected to have the answer for everything at a moment's notice. There's no one else for anyone to talk to other than yourself. And if you're at work or something, so much shit can go wrong with your house while you don't even know about it. Another thing you could do, get an officer corps by getting house members to step up. With the promotion of officers, it could definitely free up a lot of that time that goes into leadership. So if you have someone doing half the duties of leadership and you're doing the other half, you just freed up half your time. You can start enjoying yourself a little more if leadership duties are stressful or anything along those lines for you. And the more officers there are, the more readily a leader can respond to a situation that arises. So if such and such player gets in an argument with Billy or something, someone from leadership might be active on Discord at that time looking and might be able to handle it before it blows up and causes a huge fracture, especially if they're both part of separate friend groups in one of your top tier stacks or something along those lines. And having more people to talk to in the officer corps allows you to get a lot more insight on certain topics. You get different outside perspectives and you can really have some fun with it. Like there's so many things that could come up that you would have never thought of, and these guys can literally streamline so much of your leadership duties, which it's fantastic. The issue with having so many people that can that you discuss stuff with is going to be your decisions could and will be debated. If you do make some sort of decision that someone dislikes in your officer corps, get ready to have a conversation between those people that are part of that conversation there, and it's just going to be, it can be rough. It can be really rough over time, and you never want to have a debate and leave any sort of resentment after. You definitely want to make sure that you guys talk everything out, get it all on the table, and relax afterwards. When you do delegate work to others, others could potentially do work improperly, and a poor outcome could come where you need to handle that shit ASAP. Let it be Stormbirds is talking to the house Thundercats, yeah, and you know, so and so, or your Diplo says something that causes a huge fracture in your relationship, and this could lead to a fracture of a potential alliance mate, potential ally if a bigger house comes by, or just anything in general, and could even cause the person to go hostile on you right away for the next war, and now you have another enemy to fight amongst everyone else if you do have enemies at the given time. And if you do ask for an officer corps and you need members to step up and no one steps up, that's where you could definitely see a possibility of a disband situation happening. Let it be a disband or a merger, but merge and prosper, baby. You know, it makes life super easy. Reason being, you can literally clear up as much responsibility as you'd like. You can take your 20 people, join a house, and be like, I don't want leadership. Go for it. and then you guys can still play together, have fun, have a great time. Or you can be like, I still want to do leadership and I just want to do recruitment or something along those lines, and you could definitely do that. There's no issues whatsoever with that. Yeah. It would also allow the most immediate gain of veteran players for your new house now. So let's say you did an equal merge of 20 and 20 active territory war guys. Now you have a house of 40, you just doubled your numbers. So, you know, merging can definitely lead to some amazing results in a very quick period. And with those increased numbers, you can now take up those objectives that you were never able to previously. A shitty part of mergers is you can be seen as not part of the group. So you're the new guys on the block. People might not accept you in right away, and could definitely lead to a little bit of an iffy feeling, so to speak, and cause a potential fracture in your community or a potential fracture of your previous community because a few guys from your old house that you just merged into a new house with didn't like this player, and now they're in a house with them. They're probably going to leave and, you know, absolutely fuck off. It is what it is. There's definitely some people that when a merger happens, they just tend to leave and go look elsewhere, and it's understandable. When you do merge, a big thing is you could be promised all this stuff, and when, you know, push comes to shove and you have to put your opinion in there, you could be completely invalidated at any moment and have your opinion overruled, which could be really shitty and terrifying for any houses that do merge. But that's going to be all of leadership for now. Could definitely dive into a bit more later on, but this is just a basic tips and tricks guide. As far as strategies, a big thing is how to think outside the box, honestly. Like, what goes into a good battle plan? Reviewing past battles, seeing what worked and what failed. This is commonly done through a process called VOD review, aka review of a video on demand. So, assuming you have someone recording your battles, preferably the shot caller that's in Overwatch and can see what's happening in the battle 24/7. This will make it a lot better for you to see, okay, this person was out of position, this person pushed when they weren't supposed to, us pushing breach or something along those lines keeps on getting us killed. We need to try a different strategy and all that stuff. That's where, like, if you're not watching those videos, you're not really going to realize that information. At least most of your members might not. Another thing you could do is a pre-war meeting to explain the strategy that you plan on using against your opponent. So let's say you want to attack Algolia or you want to attack a Western Fief. X, Y, and Z go for breach. U3 go for gates, and U3 go for the wall or something along those lines. You know, and then those people can now digest that information and realize what they're doing ahead of time and ask questions before the battle begins. So that'll allow these people to, you know, realize exactly what's happening and not panic while in the middle of a battle of a call that they have no clue about and cause a delay in a push or something along those lines. So it's definitely key to answer questions during that phase because, you know, these people might not know exactly what you want, and it's better that they do it before the battle than after. So it's always good to have those questions asked and answered. Another good thing about a battle plan, adapting to the playstyle of your opponents. If you see your opponents are super stretched out, then you could totally do like a 50-man push on one side, or build some towers, or build some arty to handle that. Maybe get some guys to flank around, grab something, and, you know, charge these guys in the rear. There's so many different things you can do, but generally speaking, I'm going to go to a Western Fief map in a few moments here and talk a little more about adaptation. And once again, we will talk about shot calling, like having someone specifically in that Z view where they're over top looking at the map the whole time. Having that shot caller is so huge because, you know, he gets to control that large scale gameplay while you as an individual player gets to control the smaller scale. You get to handle wiping out these units and doing all this fun stuff. Pretty much, generally speaking, if you repeat steps 1 through 4, eventually you'll get it. As far as, you know, what works and what doesn't work, you know, just keep on trying and getting the exact playstyle that works with how your team operates. If you know all your guys are really infantry based and really enjoy infantry and are very proficient with them, then you may as well do something more that requires walls and not necessarily going down alleyways where you can get cav charged. So yeah, it's a fun time. Also, if any of you guys need to know a map of a fief ahead of time, you can use this elusive guides link, which is fantastic. It shows you literally any fief that you want. Some of the information on that website is outdated, but as far as the maps, it's really good. And just another statement about shot callers in general. Shot callers are to make it so that the rest of the group can focus on what's happening in front of them at a given moment, so the shot callers can handle the big scale or the large scale, and then the players can handle the small scale. So yeah. Here's an example of some strategy thinking that is slightly outside the box and not with the norm. If you're attacking a western town, what can you do? Well, we know a couple things. We know there's a breach on the west side, there's a gate, and generally speaking, a lot of people just push for X or push through breach and constantly just throw themselves at pre-built artillery, pikes, and all these different things. But why would you run face first into something that's going to kill you? Like, you can easily go around and possibly flank them. So for example, you can grab the supply on the east side, which is the right side of the map, let it be a couple players or something like that, get some gold cav out and charge these enemies in their rear, wipe out some units, and make it so your respawns can now push through. You know, maybe set up some pikes or something in front of the small gates so that these opponents can't respawn while the rest of your guys are pushing, and you're cutting off any potential respawns, which allows you to just handle the situation out here while you're getting your getting your infantry from a supply and doing all that fun stuff. There's so many things you can do. It's actually crazy. A lot of people just push X or breach, but man, the right wall for the supply is one of the hugest things that I could say for thinking outside the box. Yeah. And another thing I will say is when X is taken, I think on every territory war map, it opens up another respawn that you need to manually click on. So instead of spawning way back at home, if you're an attacker on this, you can spawn literally on X, and this will allow you to push onto supplies or home a lot quicker. Especially if you spawn in with an infantry or something along those lines, instead of having to have your Falcon Eddy walk all the way from this home to the front line, you can at least, yeah, have a little bit closer of a distance. And once again, this is not exactly a strategy that you should go by for anything particular about this fief. It's just thinking outside the box and thinking of different ways you can handle these different situations. I can't stress it enough though. You definitely need to adapt to the situation that comes up. You can't just sit there with no backup plan and give up. Once your leadership gives up on a battle, that's it. Like, it's completely done. If they have 10 guys at X and 1 guy at breach, respawns, maybe go breach. If they got 15 guys between X and breach, it could be hard to push there. Maybe flanking around, going down a staircase or something. It could be useful, grabbing a back supply of some kind. There's so many different things you can do. Now, another sensitive topic, knowing your house's worth. After a few wars, you should have a general idea of what numbers you do bring per war, and also how much artillery each of those people use and how adept each of those players are with different units, let it be Golden Cav, Falconettis, Blue Cav, or whatever value or whatever strength your house is at that given time. When you have a house that has 80 members that do join for territory wars, that doesn't necessarily mean you bring 80 members to territory wars. Generally speaking, if these guys just show up for half the battles, that means you have 40 for territory wars, which how many different things can 40 people do at once? Generally speaking, this is where you're gonna have to check, how many stacks can you handle? And you might be asking, well, what is a stack? A stack can be many things to different houses. It depends on the size of your opponent, the skill of your opponent, and what exactly is about to go down. Generally speaking, a good number for a stack, in my opinion, is to defend a Western Fief, maybe like 25. That's not bad. You have 10 for muster. You're constantly building arty, constantly doing some fun stuff. Too bad. There you go. And attacking a Western town is going to be a lot more harder on your numbers, where you're attacking, you can't heal at that location, you're constantly pushing into potential death. So that's where you might need like 30 to 35 members for a solid stack against like an end game location. When you defend a fief, though, you do get the advantage of you can set your camp there, you can grab arty as needed, swap your units as needed, you can heal, you can do so much stuff. But if you're attacking a town that's in the middle of nowhere with no AI towns or anything like that, or no land that you owned, it's going to really hurt, and you'll need a lot more members to successfully attack that. I say that because after you kicked out a battle, to heal your units and resupply them, you have to go to either a friendly fief or an AI fief. And if there's nothing nearby, you're going to be walking around with all your arty and whatever to go over there, heal, resupply, and then get out afterwards. And head back to the location. My apologies. So it definitely makes your cooldown timer potentially a lot longer than 3 minutes, depending on the situation. Oh, wrong thing. Ugh. We'll move myself back. Pretty much the conclusion on all of this, though, is running a house with the intentions of being a name to be reckoned with is no small task. It'll take many hours out of your week, and it's practically near impossible to do alone as a single leader. So definitely, I would highly suggest getting an officer corps of some kind, maybe even potentially emerging and prospering. If you have a team that is willing to take up the task of leadership, though, that's great, because now you have some sort of connection with these guys on top of the help of them doing some of the work. So wicked. A big thing to remember is leadership borders on being a job. If you start to feel any burnout, and I mean any, do not hesitate to reach out to your fellow officers and express any frustrations, so that you do not lead and build to some sort of resentment within your house, which could cause a whole collapse. It's terrible. We're all players in this beautiful game at the end of the day, so treat each other with respect, play the game, enjoy it. We're here to have some fun, and the will to win, the desire to succeed, the urge to reach your full potential, these are the keys that will unlock the door to personal excellence, is a great quote by Confucius. And that pretty much sums up our little tips and tricks guide for smaller houses. Does anyone have any questions?
I just want to say that was beautiful.
Thank you.
Yep, I cried a little bit.
Oh.
Good job.
Yeah, no questions from me.
Good job, Adam.
Perfect. I appreciate you guys hanging out and whatnot. I hope, you know, anyone of any caliber of house potentially learned a thing or two there. I hope all of you guys have a great night though, because I think that's it.
Okay, you too.
Take care, guys.
Peace.
That's it, guys. That's it. I love you all. You're all beautiful. You get to see my Twitch. I hope, you know, you learned a thing or two. I hope you had a great time. The amount of laughs being used is amazing. Thank you. Thank you. I really do appreciate it. A little bit, you know, stuff went into this, but hopefully some of the smaller houses can learn from this and build a more healthy house for next season. That's all that really matters at the end of the day. Just have a healthy community in this game, because being toxic is fun and all, but yeah.